Welcome, writers, game masters, and creatives to the World Builders Tavern. Today we are talking about the Hunger Games. If you are not familiar with the Hunger Games, A, you have been living under a rock, and B, consider yourself spoiler warned. We are going to be no holds barred talking about this series, both the movies and the books. So grab an ale and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly neighborhood barkeep, along with Allison.
Hello.
And Christiana.
Hi.
We are so happy to have you here. Cheers.
Cheers.
I actually hate the phrase "you must be living under a rock" because I'm like not no, everyone hasn't seen everything. Like even if it's super popular.
I'm like that with pop music. I discovered Shawn Mendes 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And someone was like, "You don't know who Shawn Mendes is?" It's actually one of my direct reports is literally like just turned 21. And she was like, "You don't know who Shawn Mendes is?" And I was like, "No, I listen to metal. Why would I know who Shawn Mendes is?"
I know, like what? Yeah, I don't know. So just in case, no shame if you have never read or seen The Hunger Games. That's fine.
Yes.
Although I expect you will have if you're listening to this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's also nothing wrong with living under rocks. Rocks are great, cozy places. It's just a different reality.
They protect us.
Yeah.
Especially if we were in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I would love
to live under a rock.
That's fair.
So for a little bit of background, for those of our listeners who may not be familiar with the series, the Hunger Games trilogy takes place in an unspecified future time in the dystopian post-apocalyptic nation of Panem, which is located somewhere in North America. The country consists of a wealthy capital city surrounded by 12, originally 13, poorer districts, which are then ruled by the capital. The capital is lavishly rich and technologically advanced, but the districts are in varying states of poverty. As punishment for a past rebellion against the capital, in which District 13 was destroyed, one boy and one girl from each of the 12 remaining districts between the ages of 12 and 18 are selected by lottery to compete in an annual, compulsory, televised battle royale death match called the Hunger Games. The purposes of the Hunger Games are to provide entertainment for the capital and to remind the districts of the capital's power and its lack of remorse or forgiveness for the failed rebellion of the current competitors' ancestors. It's bleak. It is a bleak world.
It definitely is.
We have talked about so many dystopians this season. I feel like dystopias are fun.
We'll have to pick like what's the opposite of
utopia?
Yeah, utopia.
But I think maybe it's because the current state of the world, we're all like, this is relatable.
Unfortunately.
It's familiar.
Yeah.
So the reason we decided to talk about the Hunger Games is because it's been having quite a revival on social media, apparently. Christiana, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I could talk about it, especially on TikTok. If you exist on hashtag, that's so millennial of me. Gen Zs will be like, terrible. So hashtag book talk. But it is very popular in the kind of book and science fiction and fantasy community on TikTok right now. It's having like a huge revival. I know there's a new book coming out, the
movie.
Ballad of
It's
Songbirds.
a new movie, so it's the movie of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is coming out this fall.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're doing a movie about that horrible book.
Yeah,
I did not like it. I mean, I
never read it. I never read it.
I tried to.
I didn't read it. Yeah, so I can't comment. But I know that movie is coming out. But also, I think it makes sense because the series is so much about the evils of capitalism, and as we're entering a recession, and as we're entering all these things, like being, even though I'll be 29 in 2 weeks. And I work a good job and I have a good salary, I could literally never afford a house. And I think that's kind of like the motivation for a lot of people, where they're looking at these things and it kind of like speaks to the anger that a lot of people are feeling right now. So I'm not shocked that the Hunger Games is the thing right now. in these kind of versions of TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Because we're analyzing
there's
unfair political systems.
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And when you talk about TikTok, there's this kind of idea of like being on different sides of a TikTok. So you're like, oh, I'm on like as a non-binary person. Oh, I'm on non-binary anxiety disorder TikTok.
Okay.
And like people will literally make videos that specific. And Hunger Games kind of like falls into those categories and makes a lot of arguments for each kind of trend in the algorithm, and it makes a lot of sense to me that right now that's what's on people's
Mm.
minds
Mhm.
because it was popular when they were teenagers, it was popular when they were young and they were promised the world and they
Mhm.
fell in love with it, and then now as adults they're like, oh my god, I work 40 hours a week and I still can't afford a yard.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing, like I can't afford a yard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be focusing mostly on the movies for this episode, but also talking about the books when it comes up, when it's relevant, because there are some, it's a pretty good adaptation. Like, most people are pretty happy with the adaptation of the books to the movies, but as with everything, when you're changing mediums, there's going to be differences.
yeah.
So when that's important, we'll kind of talk about it, or if there's cool, because the books are richer. Like, there's a lot of details in the
Yeah.
books that are very
I
cool.
I feel
and
like there's just more in the books. Like, I think
Yes.
the movies
Yeah.
did pretty good and just kind of condensed what was there. I don't
Yeah.
remember if they did. I don't feel like they did anything drastically different.
No, they didn't make any
They
huge changes. They left out
Yeah.
some details, which
Yeah.
is always kind
I
of
was
what
gonna
happens.
say that's it, and it's totally fair. Like a movie versus a book is a
Yeah.
totally different
You
medium.
read a
Yeah.
movie
It
in 8
makes
hours, or you
sense
read a
that they,
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It makes sense that they kind of have to cut some things, but there are at least a couple things that they cut where I was like,
It would have been
oh,
nice
that
if that
felt,
was in.
yeah, that
Yeah.
felt like really important.
Yeah.
But not enough for me to be like
Super upset about it.
Be annoyed about it.
storming the Capitol.
It's not
about it.
Aragon levels of
Yeah.
movie terribleness.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that struck me when watching the movies again was how we're introduced to the world. Like, the first scene, rather than focusing on the districts or even our main character Katniss, it's an interview between the host, the host of the televised Hunger Games,
Yeah.
and one of the game makers, which I thought was a really interesting way of getting into the world, because I think that's almost necessary to make it not seem completely like to make it you understand why this would happen, because it seems so obvious that, like, well, children fighting to the death is bad. Like, how on
Yeah.
earth could this possibly have happened? Like, you already have that perspective ingrained. So it's kind of showing you, oh, well, this is how it happened. This is the other perspective. This is why these people are interested in it. And it also, I really found it cool as a world builder, the fact that the story is so meta about building worlds. Like, the game makers literally build worlds. Like, they are building the arenas for people to fight
totally.
in.
Yeah.
Which is very fun, very fun. So there's a lot of world building stuff for us to talk about, I think, with this series, for sure.
That's really interesting. I didn't even pick up on that, how they chose a different opening, because the books jump right in with Katniss, and so
Yes.
the movie, starting with the television, really just focuses on like the capitalist consumerist sort of
Yeah, the
society right off the
spectacle
bat. Yeah,
of
the
it all.
spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think that I'm going to dive into another topic. I think the idea of the Hunger Games has been covered a lot of times
Mm.
in different ways. So you have like the movie Battle Royale. You also have the Netflix series Squid Games.
Mhm.
You also have the kind of classic, I don't know, maybe it's just the me thing, but I feel like anyone in Canada going through high school had to read The Lottery by Shirley Jackson.
Did not, but
I didn't have to, but I ended
Okay.
up reading it anyway. So yeah, I know.
Okay, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson is basically like a town gathers in the town square and you decide who wins the lottery. It's very much the same thing as the reaping, but the winner gets like stoned to death, basically.
Oh.
And it's like a really deep thing. And I think why I connect those two stories so much together is because I had literally the Hunger Games came out while I was in high school, and I had literally just been forced to read The Lottery in high school English class. And I was like, oh, okay, this is an expansion on that idea. But you also think of things like, as a horror movie fan, Battle Royale, and like I said, more recently, Squid Games, things like that. Like the concept of people being forced to fight against each other to survive,
Mhm.
or being like randomly selected for sacrifice. That's not like a super new concept in literature,
No.
Mhm.
I mean, you have
but
like gladiators from
yeah,
Rome,
exactly.
like doing that
Yeah.
ages ago. And the movie Gladiator is a great
Yeah,
fictionalized
exactly.
version of
That's
that.
what I mean. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like a super new concept, but they took it so much further because all of those other stories just cover the fact that it's happening, not why it's happening.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what really set Hunger Games apart, is that they took the time to explore, okay, so this is happening. There's a lottery, someone has decided they have to fight to the death. That's not a new concept, but why do they have to do that?
Mhm.
And they really expanded on that, and I think that was the thing that made it so interesting to me.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, world building lesson number 1 that we can learn from the Hunger Games is you don't have to be super paranoid about your idea being new.
Yeah.
There are like it's a like well-known thing that people repeat and repeat, like there are no new stories, there are no new
Yeah.
ideas, there are no
Exactly,
new
yeah.
worlds. So don't worry about it. Like don't commit plagiarism, like that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But also
Okay.
you don't have to be worried about coming up with something completely new, because you can just take something and put a twist on it. And even by nature of you being a new person talking about it, it's gonna be different. Like your perspective will
exactly.
already change it. So yeah, just take it
Yeah.
in a different direction.
Every author brings a new narrative, and they might focus on different things. Like Squid Games, like really focused on the games, versus the lottery focused kind of on like the moment of what the Hunger Games would call the reaping,
Mm.
versus the Hunger Game focused on the political motivation to actually do that thing.
Yep.
Right? But when you like really break it down, it's all like
Kids fighting to
kind
the
of a
death.
little bit the same thing. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just people fighting to the death. That's it.
Yep.
Well,
Full
it's
stop.
interesting because Suzanne Collins really like figured out a structure that worked and just repeated that in all 3 books. Which I remember when I read it for the first time, the series for the first time as a teenager, I was kind of annoyed with that because, like, I read the first book and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. This is really good. I'm into the characters. I'm into the story." And I picked up the second book and I was expecting something different, like, I don't know, Katniss in the Capitol figuring out how to take down a government, but then it was just the Hunger Games all over again with some twists.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Yeah, it
third
was
book,
just the quarter quell
yeah,
instead of regular Hunger Games. Yeah.
and the third book does the same thing. It's not a Hunger Games, but it's like it kind of is like they're going through all these traps and things that the
Yeah, they're
Capitol
dropped
set to
into the
them.
It's more of a real
capital and
world.
having
Yeah.
to fight through.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit annoyed with that, I remember, because I was like, I wanted something different. This isn't how I
Yeah.
would have done it, you know? And then reading it now, I'm like, it works just fine. You know, it is what it is. If you
Mhm.
like this, you're going to get more if you read
Mhm.
Yeah.
all 3 of them.
Yeah. And that also works for the story that she is telling, because it
Yeah.
is the same thing happening over and over again, right? Like these games
Yeah, that's
happen
kind of
over and
the
over
issue,
again.
exactly.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
oppression happens over and over again until something changes, and then
Yeah.
you know it goes a little bit different. So, yeah. I think that obviously a big theme in the world and in the story of Hunger Games is sort of capitalism and that whole
Yeah.
political
Yeah.
thing.
I was thinking about that earlier, because one of my favorite scenes, I think it's either in the first or the second book, where Katniss and Peter are in the Capitol kind of for the first time, and they're like schmoozing with other Capitol people at
Yeah.
a party.
Mm.
Pre the first games when they're getting
I
set
think
up as
so.
tributes. Yeah.
Quarter quell.
I think this might happen in the second movie, though. I think they might have changed it in the movies.
Mm.
But they're eating food and they're like trying all the different food and loving it
Yeah.
because they're not used to having so much food, and then they're full. And someone comes up to them and is like, "Oh, you're full here, like drink this." And they're like, "Why?" And they're like, "Well, it'll make you throw up. And then you can eat more."
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just
Yeah.
remember reading that and just being so disgusted and just being like,
Yeah.
this is, I don't know if capitalism is the right term, or consumerism maybe.
Well, those kind of go hand in hand, right? Like,
Yeah,
yes, the
I
whole
was gonna
capitalistic
say,
model
I
is built
think-
on consuming.
Yeah.
to
And
excess.
I was talking to my husband about this earlier, and he's like, "Oh yeah, did you know that they had, like, they used to do this in old, what was it, Rome or Greek?"
Vomitoriums. Yeah, you'd have
Vomitorium, yeah.
vomitoriums. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, and I'm like,
God.
"What? This is
Yeah.
this actually happened?"
Yep,
That's
you'd have a
awful.
feather that you would make yourself throw up with.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So
and fun fact, actually a good way to poison someone is to poison their food, but then also poison their vomit feather, so that if they noticed
my
it was
goodness.
poison and they went to throw it up, they'd actually just like re-poison themselves. Doesn't work so well now because people don't do that, but in ancient Rome, great
there
way
you
to
go.
off
If you're
someone.
setting your world in
God.
ancient Rome, and now you have a murder
Vomit feather.
weapon.
Yeah. I'm not to be too punny. I'm gagged. I did not know that. That's gross.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
It's I just remember really being impacted by that scene, and every time I watch it,
Mhm.
I'm just like, what
Yeah.
a great metaphor for like
Yeah.
society, capitalist society, and
Yeah.
the inequalities between the rich and the poor. And it just makes me think of our own world, because that same thing exists, and it
Yep.
makes me sad.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that the Hunger Games does perfectly, is that they encapsulate this kind of disconnect between rich and poor,
Mhm.
where like how many rich people will spend, this is me going on a rant about capitalism and about why I hate it. But how many super ultra rich people will spend $1 million opening a new wing for an art gallery instead of spending $1 million feeding people
Yeah.
in their cities?
Mhm.
Right?
Or even spend $1
it's
million
like
on a
that-
private plane, or like, even less altruistic even than like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Some of these ultra rich people will just like toss money away on dumb stuff, like hosting a dinner and then having like what is it, Epicat or something like that.
Ipecac.
It's like the Epicac.
Yep.
Is the medication that'll make you throw up kind
Yep.
of thing.
Mm.
How many people are spending $1 million on aesthetic instead of spending $1 million feeding empty bellies?
Yep.
Right.
No, and I think that that's a really like world build, like, because that is a moment of world building, like, someone
Yeah, it is.
using something to make themselves throw up. Like, yes, that's a character interaction, but it's a facet of the world. So like, what
Yeah.
an amazing, like, Collins is fantastic at capturing her theme. She has a really good
Yeah.
idea of what her theme is, and that is played out in like every part of her world building.
Mm-hmm.
And also like the way that she builds her world is she took something that is in our real world as subtext, which is the rich profit and they make all of us fight each other for scraps, and she makes it explicit. Like in this, it's not just subtext, they're not just like economically fighting for jobs up, they're literally fighting to the death. So that could be a good way to get inspiration for your world or for your plot, is to look for something that's subtext and like, what would this look like if it were text, if it were explicit, if this were played out to its most dramatic end. Inspiration's everywhere.
I want to guess that the world came first and the characters came out of that. I don't know that for sure.
I would think so.
Snow is such a good villain because he's really encapsulated by the society. So like, just wants to keep things status quo because he's on top. And I think that's just a really terrifying villain.
Yeah.
But that's also so many people in power right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like, I think that's Here's me going on a big political rant. I think so many
Christiana's
people...
going to be starting their own rant podcast.
Yeah. Here's me. I worked in government for 10 years. I have like big feelings. I think so many people start out with, here's what I want to change. How can I change it? And then they run for office, and then they quickly fall into the kind of more nefarious side of politics, right? Where it's more like, oh, if I make this trade, if I sell myself out in this angle, that means I can help people in this other angle, and like
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And I feel like the kind of vibe I got from Snow is that he maybe started out like that, where he
Yeah.
was like, I just want people to stop killing each other. What do I have to do that? And at first it was understanding each other, building relationships, creating peace. And then eventually it became, I will just like make a bunch of teenagers strangle each other.
Interesting.
If it means no one will fight each other, right? Like
Huh.
it escalates really quickly.
I mean, this is the 75th Hunger
Fifth,
Games?
75th, yeah. So
75th.
he
So,
wouldn't
like,
have been the one to come
he
up
wouldn't
with
have,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't the one
Yeah.
that started it.
But he's also the one who is kind of like the puppet master of the games to some extent. When you
Yes.
see
Yes.
him with the other game masters throughout the series, he's kind of trying to motivate it, saying, I want Katniss Everdeen dead.
Yeah.
Because Katniss Everdeen represents hope, and hope means
Yep.
revolution, and revolution means people dead, and revolution means means war, and all these things. I'm not saying he's not the most evil person, because he is absolutely the most evil person.
Yeah.
But I think I can almost kind of see his trajectory.
Interesting.
And I think that's what makes him such a good villain, is because
Yeah.
at first it was, let's not fight, let's work together, let's not fight. We'll quell down any kind of opposition. Let's not fight. I will kill any opposition. Let's not fight. I'll make you guys fight each other, kind of thing. Like I can almost see, like I said, I can almost see the trajectory of it,
Interesting.
which makes it more believable and infinitely more evil to me. Sometimes when someone's like, I'm gonna raise a volcano and blow up your whole town, you're just like, okay, but why would
See,
why would you do that?
I had a completely different read on Snow. Like, I do not see him as ever having had altruistic views. And granted, so I haven't read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I know is more focused on Snow's like rise. So that could be like, but from the Hunger Games, I have a hard time believing he was anything ever other than like, I want to be in power. I want to hold all the cards.
From what I remember about the little bit that I read of the prequel, I think I don't think he's a bad person at the beginning when he's a young man. So I think it might be more along the lines of what Christiana is saying. And it would be hard to write a novel from the perspective of someone who is just evil.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So I think but I think that's a really good metaphor for like politics in general. Like often you can go in with the best intentions. It feels like people go in with these ideals, and then the system is just set up in such a way that you'll just fail, like somehow, one way or another. You'll get corrupted, or you'll have to sacrifice something here to do something good here, and so I think that's a really good metaphor for maybe what happened to Snow.
Yeah, I think politics is kind of like I don't know.
But is he a politician?
With the best he
there's,
is.
I mean, I know he's in. Right, but like, there's no. It's not like there's voting. Like he's a dictator, right? Like, but it's not like he's like really trying to schmooze or is the head of a political party that's like needs to get votes or anything.
You would even inside of an evil party. Let's pretend the people putting the person in control is absolutely evil. If you were a good person, if you were someone who was like, I want to protect people, I want to make things right, I'm going to be the guy on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play double agent. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to schmooze the right people. I'm going to get in control. And then I'm going to make all these changes. But how much would that journey change you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is kind of how I view it, right? Where like, even if it's not democratic, there could be someone who enters this realm, this political realm, and is like, I want to really change things. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm just going to like play the part. I'm going to play the part until I get to where I need to be. How long will you play the part until it becomes your true self?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of maybe where I view Snow,
Yep.
where it's like he was playing the game long enough, he became a pawn.
Interesting. I'm still gonna disagree. I don't really see that for him. Like I
No,
think that
yeah,
he's,
that's fair.
but I still find him to be, even with that perspective, I still find him to be a very compelling villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because he is so ruthless, and he's actually like he's a relatively smart villain. Like, a lot of the times you see villains who are just they they're too egomaniacal, they make stupid decisions, they explain their plans to James Bond for 20 minutes and then he escapes, right? Whereas Snow is legitimately frightening because he is a legitimate threat. He holds all of the power, he does not care about anybody, he will do whatever it takes, and he probably can because he's smart, and we see him a step ahead of Katniss for most of the games, which is scary.
He holds his cards close to his chest, kind of thing, which is definitely outside of the kind of trope that we see with most villains, where they're like, I have you now, Bond, speak or die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and he knows the game that he's playing. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, where it's like that, you play the game and you win, or like, he knows the game. He knows that the game is, if Katniss gets too much support, the people will rebel because she's a symbol of hope. Like, he knows what the stakes are and how that's going to come about.
Oh, I love how in the books it's so much more subtle, the interactions Katniss has with Snow. Like, in the movies you can't quite pull that off, so it's way more obvious. But like, in the book, sometimes she just like reads his expression, or like sees him like nod or shake his head, and she's like, oh dear, that means this.
Yeah.
I think there's one scene. This is, mind you, I haven't read them for a long time. But she describes him as kind of having like a distant look in his eyes, I guess. And I'm like, even that, I'm like, oh, he's checked out. He doesn't he doesn't care what Katniss is saying, kind of thing.
So another really cool thing about the Hunger Games world building is how every character reacts a little bit differently to this society. So we have Snow, who's like on the top. Then it's really neat to see so other characters within the Capitol. Some of them are just like, I don't know if pawn is the right word. They don't do anything, so they're not doing anything wrong. Like, they're not the ones murdering people, but they're also not doing anything to stop the murders. And I feel like Katniss's prep team is a really good example of that. Like, her I forget
the hair
what their
and
names
makeup.
are. Yeah, the hair and makeup people.
Who are not in the movie, because
Not
Cinna's
Effie.
in the movie. Yeah.
Effie doesn't do her makeup, but
No.
Octavia
They're not in the movies.
And her prep team are sort of like really oblivious. They are just excited about the games. They love Katniss in their own way. And Effie's a little bit similar to that. Like, she doesn't quite understand, at least at first, what's going on.
Like, it's an honor to be in the games. You should be excited.
Very much into fashion and appearance and all the weird hair colors and makeup and stuff, which the movies does such an awesome job of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have Cinna, who grew up in the Capitol as well, just like all these other characters, and yet his perspective is very different. Like, he actually helps Katniss and does something that causes him to be... Does he get killed? Can't remember.
Yeah.
Yes, he gets killed for it. And then you have the people who did not grow up in the Capitol, like Katniss, who just wants to survive. She doesn't care about any of this capitalist nonsense. She just wants her and her family to live. Then you have Gail, who's no, we need to fight. We have to make this right. We have to not just survive.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly interject to
Yes,
say
go for it.
a lot of people on TikTok are calling Gail the Prim Reaper.
Which
no.
I love it.
Horrible. It's so horrible.
So
It's
clever.
so sad,
Yeah.
but also so funny. Every time I see a TikTok about it, I'm like,
yeah.
I shouldn't laugh. But that's
That's
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
I was done. I was pretty much done. I just wanted to.
And then there's also the people from the districts who are still more allies of the capital, like districts 1 and 2, which have more, like they're closer to the capital, they're treated better by the capital, they have that proximity to wealth and privilege where they're like, no, we also like the games because we're going to kill all of you and we're going to win. Yeah. Which is, it's very strong world building. It makes your world feel a lot more real when your characters have different perspectives on things. And it's not just like, oh, this historical event happened and we all feel like the exact same way about it.
Exactly.
It's, this thing happened and we all feel differently, which adds a lot of realism to your world for sure.
And we all are in different social and economic statuses, which also affects our opinion of this society.
Yeah, it's almost thinking about it as you're creating one world, but each of your characters have their own little world inside of that world.
Yeah.
And it's building each of those individual worlds and how that impacts your characters.
Yeah.
So start off with your big world, the big world being they're all fighting to the death in the capital, and then, well, what's the world like for Katniss? What's her world? What's Effie's world? What's Snow's world? And then they all interact and play with
also
each other.
the motivation. Like, I think that motivation is like a really big part of the series where, like, why is the capital hosting the Hunger Games? It's because they had an uprising previously, kind of thing. That's their motivation. Why is Katniss participating in the Hunger Games? It's because her sister Prim was going to be a part of the Hunger Games. Like, motivation is a really, really big thing for characters and also a big thing for stories in general and worlds in general.
Totally.
Yeah, that's really interesting because there's no way Katniss would have volunteered for anyone else.
No.
Except
her
for
priority is
Prim,
her family, and like that's it.
That's
who
herself
she
and her
cares
family,
about. Yeah.
I feel like we could talk about this for another hour.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good time to go to our proprietor's pick. I had a lot of fun trying to find a comp for the Hunger Games because YA Dystopian kind of had its field day during the time of the Hunger Games and it's not really as big anymore. But the book I found...
Cough, Divergent.
Maze Runner.
Divergent, Maze Runner.
There was a whole bunch of stuff
and
at that
to be
time.
fair, I gobbled up all those books at that time. So, not opposed. So the book I found is called The 10% Thief. Love this title, by the way. How fun is that?
Yeah.
By Lavanya Lakshminarayan. And I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I tried to look up the phonetic pronunciation and I couldn't find one. So it will have already come out when this episode airs on March 28th, 2021. So you can wait, 2021. That should be 2023. Sorry. And the synopsis reads, welcome to Apex City, formerly Bangalore. Here, technology is the key to survival, productivity is power, and even the self must be engineered for the only noble goal in life, success. Everything is decided by the mathematically perfect bell curve. With the right image, values, and opinions, you can ascend to the glittering heights of the 10%, the virtual elite, and have the world at your feet. The less fortunate struggle among the workaday 70% or fall to the precarious 20%, and below that lies deportation to the ranks of the analogs with no access to electricity, running water, or even humanity. The system has no flaws and cannot be questioned until a single daring theft sets events in motion that will change the city forever. So this sounds really fun
great.
to me, and just kind of
Yeah.
picked up on some of those like capitalist sort of unfair society themes from the Hunger
Yeah.
Games.
And who doesn't love when math is the villain?
Right? Villain is math. I feel so that speaks to me.
Yeah.
Another one for the to be read pile.
I know, like I already added it to mine. So if you read The 10% Thief, please like tweet at us or
Yeah.
send us your TikTok video or whatever and let us know what you thought.
We want to know how it is.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we're at last call. So we are going to finish up with some concluding questions or thoughts for you world builders to take out with you to your stories. Allie, what do you got for us?
I will just reiterate that you can plan out how your characters react to your world's society in different ways. So consider how they might feel or think differently based on their economic status, based on their social status, and even people of the same statuses like Gale and Katniss might have very differing opinions about either what they think or about how they will choose to react to the society that they're in. The unfair capitalist dystopian society.
Yeah, break out those
That's
smaller worlds.
Great question. Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little world building exercise, which is to take the central premise of a world that you like the Hunger Games, where you have to fight to the death, and then give it a twist. Just make it a little bit different. I think that's a really good way to think about world building, and to kind of, if you're feeling stuck, you don't know where to start, just take an old idea and put a spin on it. And if you do that, let us know what your spin was. Send us a tweet or an email or a TikTok.
That's a great point, Emma, and I'm going to kind of build off of that. What is the motivation for your major plot point? It's easy to write a short story like The Lottery, or a movie like Battle Royale, or a book series like The Hunger Games, where ultimately kind of the idea is people are randomly selected for death, right? But all three of those stories are so wildly different. So even if you have an idea of people crash landing on a planet, there's a million stories about people crash landing on a planet. What is the motivation? Why did people go to that planet? What is motivating them to try to survive on that planet? Motivation is such an important thing to think about. And in the Hunger Games, it is political. So
yeah, keep asking why.
Yeah.
Why is a great
Be a toddler when you're world building.
Why?
Why?
Pretend you have a 4-year-old right beside you the entire time going, but why?
But why?
But why? But
why? Some great exercises, thoughts, and questions for you to ponder while you go off and build your own world. But with that, it is closing time. Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern. We hope that you are enjoying this Hunger Games renaissance as much as we are, and we hope to serve you here again soon. But for now, you gotta scram. Bye.
See
ya. Get out of here. May the odds be ever in your favor.
I was gonna whistle the Mockingjay too, but I don't remember what it is. There we go.
There you go.